Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the instant match reaction to Newcastle United 2, Burnley 1. Sounds like a great win, doesn't it? Sounds like a great result. It wasn't particularly. I'll get stuck into that in a minute, tell you exactly what I thought about the game, the performances, the players that came in for the multiple changes that the manager made, and talk a little bit about how lucky we were to win this game in the end. But just before I do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, smash subscribe down below. Help get us to the next milestone. We are over 12,000 subs now, so thank you so much to everybody who hit that button. It's amazing to be there. We are going to have the prize draw for this the day after the Sunderland game. We're going to do a show on Monday night, the kind of what's going on format. So come and join us on there. We will do the live draw for whoever the lucky devil is who wins the 12k prize, which is a signed photograph of Eddie Howe and a Carabao Cup winners medal. You can just walk around the house like you've won the Carabao Cup. So it's definitely one to be had. But it's not about the Carabao Cup. That seems like light years away after watching that today. That was really, really poor, in my opinion. But let's get into it. So this is how the team lined up. Loads of changes, very un-Eddie Howe-like. You know, we always say he needs to rotate more. And my God, did he rotate? He was like spinning the wheel of fucking fortune on this thing. He rotated that much. There was 6 changes in the team. You could see Fabian Schär came in. Lewis Hall dropped out. He was ill, apparently. We all started losing our minds at the prospect of Dan Burn at left back. But Lewis Hall was ill, was fit enough to make the bench. Jacob Ramsey came in midfield, which we thought, yeah, great. We all want to see him have an opportunity. But so did Joe Willock. And Joe Linton and Louis Miley dropped out of the lineup, as did Harvey Barnes, because Anthony Gordon came back in, as did Anthony Elanga. So there was loads of changes in the lineup. And you thought to yourself, okay, there's pace there, there's mobility. You know, there's lads who have been crying for chances and wanting chances in the starting lineup. Let's see what they're going to do. To be honest with you, when the lineup came out, I was a little bit dubious. I was a little bit concerned. I thought, I wonder if these lads are actually going to be capable of taking the opportunity and giving us the same level of performance for, let's face it, the in-form players that have been taken out of the lineup for squad rotations. And I get it. There's 3 big games this week. And out of the 3 big games, this is probably the least important game, regardless of the fact it's a Premier League game. We want to win, climb the table. But Burnley, Leverkusen and Sunderland, you know, Burnley's always going to be the least important game out of those 3. So I kind of understand why he rotated so much. But I was a bit disappointed with some players, which I'll get into in a minute. But you know, they came out to the crowd, you know, war flags flying, the crowd singing the Blade and Races, all the atmosphere, everything that they ask for and the manager asks for every single home game. And the fans delivered, the crowd delivered, but the team did not deliver, because Burnley, I tell you something, 19th in the table, we're all saying, oh, this should be a home bank on paper. Burnley did not get the memo, because Burnley were in our face from minute 1. They were pressing high. They were charging forward. They were winning corner after corner after corner, flinging in corners. Ramsdale was flapping like fuck in the box. I don't know what he was doing. Weak punches here, there, and everywhere. We were very, very lucky not to concede in the first 10, 15 minutes, to be brutally honest with you. And then, weirdly enough, Burnley kind of did what we've been doing at home. They started strong, 10, 15 minutes, then they took the foot off the gas and they allowed Newcastle to come back into the game. There was an opportunity for Anthony Gordon over the top. He gets his feet all wrong once again and doesn't really take the chance. A nice chance for Voldemar. Almost tries to be a bit too clever with the finish, you know, cut it back across the way it came to the bottom corner or top corner, because he tried to get in the gap in between the defenders and went straight to the goalkeeper. The Bruno Guimaraes has another shot from the goalkeeper, who, by the way, was Martin Dubravka, got a great reception from the fan base all game as well, and rightly so, because Martin Dubravka was an excellent goalkeeper for us. Did have that weird stint when he went to Manchester United and then came back, and then kind of a redemption arc. But we were having a couple of chances, but Burnley was still very much in the game, and you were thinking, how the hell is this happening? You know, this is not good. The lads who came in weren't really performing. You know, I think Ramsey was invisible really the entire first half, bar a couple of little passes here and there. But we get the goal on the half-an-hour mark. We finally get a corner, one corner, and you can call it what you want. You can call it magic. You can call it fluke. You can call it the goalkeeper never expecting it. But Bruno Guimaraes whips in a corner and shoots from the corner, and it goes into the back of the net. And it looks like a brilliant goal. And, you know, he's doing the celebration. His arms are out. You know, it'll be one of those Premier League iconic goals that they play back time and time again when they talk about Newcastle and they talk about the Brazilians who played in the Premier League, and Bruno Guimaraes will definitely make that list. And they'll pull that goal up. But we get that goal, and you're thinking to yourself, you know, we haven't really played that well, really. We haven't really dominated Burnley. We haven't pressed them high. We haven't won the ball off them repeatedly. We haven't ran rings around them. We've not really done that well, and we've had to rely on a moment of magic, if you will, or a moment of kind of fortuitous luck from our captain on our only probably creative outlet in this whole squad. In all fairness, there's only one player on the pitch who could have pulled that off, and it was Bruno Guimaraes. And one player in his squad probably could have pulled it off, and it's Bruno Guimaraes, and he did pull it off. And it was a really good finish in the end, and we're 1-0 up. And just, you think to yourself, well, we're maybe getting a little bit of luck there, maybe push on, and then maybe try and and get in front of the game and command in the game. But we just couldn't seem to do it. We got the ball down, we played well. Gordon hit the post as well. There was a couple of nice little bits of play, but it just never really looked like it was cohesive enough to be drawn together. Joe Willock had moments. Joe Willock is a little moment player, just a little bit of, nice little bit of play here and there, and then he gives the ball away, and then he's not on the same wavelength as Alanga. And you think, what's going on here? Gordon and Burn didn't really have any synergy on the left-hand side either, and we just look completely off balance, in my opinion. And then there's loads of injury time added on, and we get a penalty right towards the end of the second half, and again, there's a red card. Sorry, there's a red card just before that. I'm really losing track of the bloody game here. There's a red card just before that as well, where it's a lovely pass from Anthony Gordon. To be fair, he gets the ball, picks up deep, slips a lovely ball through, and Anthony Alanga's pace is taking him there, and it's a ridiculous tackle by Perez, their player, who actually did really well. He was whipping in really, really good corners before that. He was having a decent game. I think it was his Premier League debut. I think I remember hearing a commentator say whether I'm right or wrong. But Alanga gets through, and all it is a misreading of his pace by the defender. And it can happen when you're dealing with quick players like that. You can misread their pace. And that's exactly what he does. Alanga just knocks it by him. It's one little touch. And that one little touch, just as the challenge comes in, the guy wipes him out. It's a straight red card. It's a red card all day long. Nobody really complained about it. He took an age to come off the pitch, but he did come off the pitch eventually. And it's a penalty to Newcastle. It's a red card, I beg your pardon. And then shortly after that, I'm getting confused. There wasn't that many highlights in this game. That's probably why I'm getting confused. Shortly after that, we get the penalty. It's a weird bit of play from their player, who, bear with me, I'm going to try to pronounce this guy's name, because when he did it, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to say this on the channel. It's is it Ugo Chukwa? Ugo Chukwa? That's him there. Ugo Chukwa. There you go. That's that I'm going to sit with. Hopefully that has good pronunciation. Mark will let me know in the comments, because Mark's better pronouncing these names than me. But for some crazy reason, this guy decides to just try and catch the ball like he's in the NBA, and you're thinking, what on earth are you doing, mate? His hands are full on out like that, like he's trying to catch it, and catches it. Close enough, Mark says. I'll take it. I'll take the win. He puts his hands out and catches the ball, goes to VAR, and you're just thinking, that's a straight handball, mate. I don't even know what you're doing. So we get the penalty. Nick Voldemort is sniffing around the penalty. He wants the pen. But Anthony Gordon's not giving him the pen. And Anthony Gordon steps up and takes a pen. He smashes it in the bottom left-hand corner. It's a really good pen, to be fair, from Anthony Gordon. And we're 2-0 up. I'm going at half-time, and Burnley have got a real uphill climb on the hands, really. And you're thinking to yourself, right, Newcastle, come out in the second half. And just, assert your dominance on Burnley. Just open up, run at them, use your pace, use your quality, and just get a fucking 4-0 here, or a 5-0. They're down to 10 men. Burnley don't have any real creativity in the middle of the park or up front. And if they did have today, this result might have been a completely different result than what I'm talking about right now. But credit to Burnley. Burnley dug in, and Scott Parker had them set up brilliantly to come out in the second half to just completely nullify the play. And technically, if you want to do that weird game of two halves, Burnley win the second half 1-0 effectively, because they get a penalty right towards the end. But we're huffing and puffing, and nothing's really seeming to happen. Opportunities are being created, but I thought there was just some players who didn't take the chance. Ramsey was poor again. I thought he was marginally better in the second half, but pretty invisible for the whole game. Joe Willock's head started to fall off. Alanga was giving balls away. Dan Burn looked absolutely shattered. We make the substitutions. Lewis Hall comes on. Lewis Miley comes on. And then Gordon goes off, and Ramsey goes to the left wing. I thought he actually looked better on the left wing than he did anything else. Baltimore came off, who looked tired as well. We did eventually see the debut of Yoane Wissa. He does play for Newcastle, ladies and gentlemen. He is real. He's not a figment of your imagination. He is real. And he came on and he played. And of course, he looked a bit rusty, but there was still some moments to be excited about. There was some pace running in behind. There was some nice little touches around the corner. That sharpness will come back. Wissa being on the bench was probably the brightest spark of that whole squad announcement today. Coming off the bench as well, showing some willingness. He gets through at the end as well. He's in two minds. Do I shoot? Do I pass? And he chipped it over to Elanga, who obviously misread the whole flight of the ball anyway. A couple of times Elanga did that. I think so Gordon put him through, or Ramsey put him through as well. And it was coming to his right foot, and you're thinking, just fucking hit it. And then he ducks a shoulder and he lets it go past him to tuck back inside. You're thinking, just have a dig, mate. Have a shot. We were 2-0 up at that point. So Elanga, again, didn't look great. Again, little moments, but not enough moments for a £55 million player, in my opinion. For me personally, if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm trying to get Anthony Gordon and Harvey Barnes into the same team. One of them's got to go on the right-hand side because Murphy's off it at the minute. Alanga's not good enough. Impact sub, Elanga would be great at that, coming off the bench and running tired legs, no doubt about that. Take that pressure off of him, starting games, have either Gordon on the right or Barnes on the right. I would put Gordon on the right person and Barnes on the left, but we'll see what the manager wants to do, certainly when it comes to the Sunderland game as well. But Wissa did look quite sharp. I must say that was a good sign as well. Sandro comes on right at the end just to get the win bonus, I think. But we gave the penalty away at the end, which is really stupid. And going back to Jacob Ramsey, I thought had a really shit game overall. Not good enough, nowhere near good enough for me. He does come off for Sandro Tonali after he concedes the penalty. I'm not surprised because he was pretty poor all day. But the ball comes across the box. And for some daft reason, he just does that and sticks his elbow. And I don't understand why. I really, really don't. And it's a penalty to Burnley, and Burnley took it away. I felt sorry for Ramsdale because he was wanting that clean sheet and he didn't get it. But it's 2-1, and we hang on in the end. A couple of crosses get pumped into the box, and you're thinking, not again, not another Spurs. But we managed to hold on, get a 2-1 victory, and we're sitting 10th in the table now. We're 2 points off 5th. As you can see there from the graphic, which is good. Obviously, the weekend results have still got to be played, so that could change. But, that's one win from the 3 big games this week. We've got Leverkusen coming up midweek, and then the big one next Sunday against the Mackhams. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to win that game. It would have been nice if we had a good performance and confidence and quality play and battered them 3 or 4-0. But winning the game was the most important thing to do today, and that's what Newcastle did. They weren't great, but they managed to win a game. And if we can be shit and win games, then happy days, in my opinion. But yeah, I was disappointed in some players. Like I said, Jacob Ramsey, I thought didn't show enough. That might be why he's not getting the game time. If he's not putting it in training, and he's not taking his opportunities like he had today, then maybe that's why he's not playing. The fact that we could rest Lewis Hall for the majority of the game and still get through that game okay. The worrying thing is how much of a strain we're putting on Tino, because there is no other right back. A couple of times he got clattered today, he went down holding his ankle and his leg, and I thought, oh shit, if anything happens to Tino, we're in big trouble. So Leverkusen midweek, for me, guys, I'd even be tempted to go to 3 at the back and put Murphy in as a wing back, just to try and take the load off Tino and keep him fresh for the derby. But I think that's something that the manager's going to have to consider. But in summary, we weren't good at all today. As a matter of fact, we were quite poor in many ways against a really substandard Burnley team with no midfield guile, no attacking threat, and we made it look way more difficult than we should have done. And that's a worry, because Leverkusen are a much better team than this lot, and Sunderland are a much better team than this lot too. So 2 big games to come this week, and we have to see what the team are going to do. So let's get some of your comments coming in now. So we've got Jay saying, we always seem to struggle when that position goes down to 10 men. We can't seem to capitalize on having an extra man. It's a weird thing, isn't it, Jay? I don't know what it is. The manager's got to get some of these mentality problems out of the players' minds and sharp. Mark is saying Derby's even more important now, but he does say 2 points off 5th as well. Absolutely. And that ending, oh my God, says John. Absolutely, John. I was thinking the same thing as well. Julie's in the house. Good to see you, Julie. Thank you for jumping in the chat. Paul is saying first half was a breeze. Second half nearly had a stroke when they could have scored in the 97th minute. I know, mate. I had Spurs flashbacks again. I was just thinking, not again. Ryan saying, Chris, what the fuck was that? How did we manage to make that game come down to the last second? That's just us all over the minute, mate. Consistently inconsistent. Newcastle is what we are. Adiri saying, hi, Chris. How are you? Man of the match, Bruno Guimaraes. Yes, I didn't get my man of the match. My man of the match was Bruno Guimaraes. I thought the goal, set the set the tone, I suppose, in terms of us winning the game. I thought he won a lot of free kicks. I thought he was winning the ball back a lot. He was trying to make things happen. He was our only creative outlet. It was a bit of a low bar, but for me, yeah, Bruno Guimaraes was my man of the match as well. George is saying Ramsey had a pretty poor touch all game. I thought he was really poor, really poor. Dan saying if Ramsey doesn't make a dumbass choice, everybody wouldn't be so mad. No, I wasn't that, Dan. I was disappointed in Ramsey overall. Even if we'd won the game 3-0, I would have said Ramsey was poor. I thought he was pretty much invisible the whole game for a 40 million quid player. Just doesn't seem to be taking his chances. Simon Yorkshire 241 saying we needed a rotated day, a poor performance, but we rested a few players, got minutes for Vissa and 3 points. It should have been better, but fine if we get the results against Leverkusen and Sunderland. Yeah, don't disagree with that, Simon. It's a very balanced view, mate. George is saying it's like we stay in the patient build-up mode instead of forcing the issue, which only encourages teams with 10 men take more risks and get after you. 2 seasons ago, we'd have scored 5. Yeah, we do seem to be more negative than we used to be. We used to be a lot more positive than that. Dan also says they dropped the 5 at the back. We were happy to let them run the clock down, hit the post and the bar. When emotions and beer chill out, I think people appreciate the 3 points. Maybe they will. It's always the case with post-match reactions. I'm not raging about it. I would have liked the better performance, but a win is a win. And as you say, it could have been 4 or 5-1. But I think even that would have flattened us as well, because I don't think we were good enough to get a 4 or 5-1 win. But a win is a win. Super chat there from NUFC VFC. 1 point behind Sunderland going into next week. That is nice. A good reminder. Well done. Graham Sidney saying, at least we won. No easy games. And we never do well against shit teams with a low block. I mean, I suppose that is a really good thing to mention, Graham, is that there is no easy games in the Premier League. They're all good teams, really. They're all capable of either digging in and nullifying the play or doing something on the counter, on the transition. You know, even when they're poor, teams like Burnley, you know, they're still capable of doing something. Burnley didn't have any cutting edge, any guile in midfield or strikers that could put the ball in the onion bag, and that's what's stopping Burnley being out of a relegation fight, really. And the Burnley fans will know that too. You know, if they had either one of those players today, they'd probably get a better result. And Graham's also saying why do wingers never drive to the byline and cut the ball back on the 6-yard box for a tap-in? Never, ever see it. Did they actually do it in training? Good question. That's something Eddie Howe needs to answer. I wish one of the press pack will ask him that. Graham Ritchie saying, it's a win, but it's not convincing. They should have equalised at the end and raised more questions than answers. Yeah, don't disagree with that at all. He also said he was very, very disappointed with Ramsey. Mega says, what about Gordon's hairband? What about Gordon's hair? Never mind his hairband. I think it's about time Gordon cut that hair, I think, to be fair. It's not doing the job. It is not doing the job, to be fair. Dan is saying Dubravka made 6 saves plus 3 or 4 posts. But Dan is really driving the narrative that we should be more happy with this win. And that's okay, Dan. That's your call. That's your call, mate. Phil is saying, we won, guys. Yes, we could have been better, but fuck it. I'll take the points and move on. Some people on here going on like we got pumped. Yeah, well, it's a fair point, but I think people are just obviously wanting a better performance and disappointed because the team isn't delivering enough performances to give confidence for a lot of supporters at the minute, Phil. You know, you got the probably the right mentality that we won the game. That's what I'm trying to say. We won the game. Happy days. Points are there. That's what we need. Performances will come. But yeah, you know, some fans are probably entitled to say, where's the good performances as well? The Mackhams did lose, Graham. Good shout, mate. Thoughts on Ramsdale, says AH1. After being critical of how I'm starting to think maybe he knows more than me. I thought his punching again was a little bit ropey today. Very soft, very weak in the punches. I would like something a bit better than that, a bit more strength. Maybe the other game against Spurs has just rattled him a little bit, possibly. I don't know. I would like them to get a clean sheet. It's a shame that he didn't, but you know, you can't have it all, Aaron, can you, mate? Kaylee is saying, I'm happy we won, got the 3 points, but we have to do better. I don't disagree with that, Kaylee. I think for the squad that we've got, the cost of the squad that we've got, for where we want to be as a club, we want to be a mainstay Champions League team all the time. We want to win trophies. We want to push for, you know, top 4 and beyond. We have to play better than that, and we're not playing better than that. It's not just us. Manchester United are shite as well at the moment, and you know, they're a bigger club than us historically, you know, and they've won more trophies than we have. But you know, this club and the project and everything about it, and you know, the CEOs sitting on stools like Westlife and the Stack promising this, that, and every other thing. You do want to see better performances to entice players to come and play for you. It wasn't too long ago we were the most exciting team probably in the country, bar Liverpool, to play. Now, you know, both teams have changed. We're not exciting anymore. You know, we're very conservative. We rely on mistakes quite often to get us in front in games and get us victories. And Liverpool have dropped way off. So it just goes to show you football is never constant. It changes time to time. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. Stephen's saying we need to sort out this conceding goals and injury time. It's a mentality thing, Stephen. I think we possibly just invite too much pressure. We fuck around with it too much. A lack of leadership as well. Bruno's great at scoring the goal, and getting the tackle in and pumping the crowd up. But I don't see Bruno bollocking the players as much. I saw a clip the other day. I know football has moved on from these types of characters, but it was a Roy Keane clip, and he was bollocking Cristiano Ronaldo for trying to dink the keeper about 8 yards out and missing the shot. And Cristiano Ronaldo must have only probably been about Christ in his early 20s then. He was starting to become that player. And it just the camera panned to Roy Keane, and he absolutely blasted him and said, just put it in a fucking net. And he said the same thing on Sky about 1-0, you're never safe. You need to push. And I don't see a lot of that from our lads on the pitch. I don't see people going, stop fucking around with it. Either get it out into row Z or get it up the fucking park, get rid of it, or keep the ball simple. Stop looking for Hollywood passes and 60-yard switches when 3 or 4, 5-yard passes will run the clock down. I don't see a lot of that from our lads on the pitch. I love Bruno at the bits, I really do, but I don't see enough of that bollocking. I really, really don't. So that's maybe something that we need to do, work on that mentality. But Marcus says Bruno was man of the match as well. Stephen says Bruno is keeping us afloat. He is keeping us afloat. And Frank Reynolds says, let's hope they're saving their best for the derby. I really hope they are. Really, really hope they are. Comment from Sean saying, Chris, mate, we've been disjointed and undeniably inconsistent. But, mate, can you imagine if we click? We're literally only 3 points from fourth. Absolutely, Sean. That's the mad thing about the Premier League this season. It's so congested still. It's like a concertina. But that is going to stretch out soon. We're in December now. I've never known a Premier League so tight and so close in December where you can win a game and go from 12th to 6th. But that is going to change. You can see the bottom 3 teams now starting to drift away. Then it'll happen in fragments. The bottom 3 will drift away. And then the 5 above that will kind of get clustered together. Then the European spaces and the Champions League spaces will disappear, and there'll be a bigger gap as well. So you also need to get that shit together, and the need to try and get a more consistent level of play together to stay in the race for those European spaces. I watched Aston Villa earlier on against Arsenal, and I thought they were excellent, intense, and quality belief that were in Arsenal's faces. They never let them breathe on the ball. That good players wanted the ball, wanted to do something. Morgan Rogers, Tillemans, those kind of players. Buendia, when he come on, changed the game, showed the manager he should be starting it. I don't see that from our lads. I don't see that hunger, that desire. Do you know what I mean? So that concerns me. That there needs to be a rocket up these lads' arses to say, listen, you need to get your shit together. And I don't want to say, if they smash Sunderland, then that's a turning point, because how many games have we said that already this season? Oh, this is a turning point, and then the next game that they serve up is just really mediocre. So we need to see more consistency from this team, really. Attacker number 2 saying Ramsey's like buying a cat shit on a stone floor in a box. Total panic. I'm starting to wonder who bought this kid. I don't know what he brings to the team. I know he's been injured and early on, and that doesn't help with you kind of settling into your new team and your new style of play and all that. But if Joe Willock's getting a game ahead of you and Joe Willock hasn't kicked his arse for 18 months, then that's a concern. Lewis Miley is getting better every single game that he plays. Every single minute that he has, he seems to develop as a player. So I'll be putting more faith in Lewis Miley. But yeah, 40 million quid, that could have been spent elsewhere, in my opinion. Maybe on another centre forward. But yeah, someone's got to answer that question. Jay saying Ramsdale didn't look comfortable. He looked a bit worried a few times. I thought that as well. He looked a bit shaky. And yeah, Mark saying that the command of the area from Ramsdale is a worry at the moment. I mean, who do it play though? Pope's obviously out injured. Ramsdale's come in. What we're going to do, put John Ruddy in goal. He's about 52, and his dentures will come out if he catches the ball. There's no other players there. I mean, it's a shame that some of the young goalkeepers have been chucked off the bench, because it's good to see those young lads getting that opportunity to be part of the squad. But yeah, it is. The goalkeeper's a real concern at the moment, a really big concern at the moment. Paul said, mentioned Malik Chow looked awesome again. He always looks awesome, Paul. It almost goes without saying now. It really, really is. Garen is saying Alanga is getting better week by week. Yeah, I still don't see a good footballer with him. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he's getting marginally better, but the bar is really low. There's times where he just looks like a headless chicken. He's like Forrest Gump, just running down the line, and he forgets he actually has a ball at his feet. He's got to try and find somebody with it. But then he whips in a really good couple of crosses today, and there's nobody there to read it. So it's probably because that he is so unpredictable. He's shite 1 minute and does something good 20 minutes later. The attackers can't read what he's going to do, so they're maybe not making the move because they don't think the ball's going to come. So consistency is key for Anthony Elanga. But in the midfield, when Joe Willock's there, Joe Willock and Elanga and Ramsey are all very much too similar of a player. They want to get the ball, they want to run 20 yards, they want to get us up the pitch. Joe Willock's not a midfielder, get the ball down and find that pass through the lines. That's what Bruno Guimaraes does. That's what Sandro Tonali does. That's what Lewis Miley even does at 19 years old, because they're those types of midfielders. They want the ball, they want to keep it moving, they want to find those defense splitting passes. Willock's not that player. Willock's probably better off out wide, in my opinion, than he is in midfield. And although he was all right at times, today, he wasn't good enough as a midfielder, in my opinion. Chris is saying, well, my accumulator came in with a 2-0 win. Woohoo! 11K win just before Christmas. 11 grand. How much did you put on for an accumulator, Chris, to get 11 grand? Fuck me sideways. You must be rolling in the dough, mate. Paul said it's a handy tactic. Bruno on corners goal. Yeah, I wouldn't get too used to that, Paul. He did try one afterwards and completely and utterly flumped it over the line, didn't he? ASDWNT saying agreed. Miley before Ramsey and Willock. Yeah, 100%. Trickster saying Emery is an elite coach. Eddie good, very good, but not elite. Yes, I have said that before as well on a video, and I did get a pop at it when we beat Everton, but I still don't think he's an elite manager. I think he's a very good manager, but I don't think he's an elite manager. If you want an elite manager, you have to go and get one. But I'm not saying get rid of him, but that's the way it is. Darryl is saying, I think it's due to no speed and attack. No, now Wissa's back. That should change in a few games, like when we had the Rats. Yeah, that's a fair point, Darryl. Voldemort is a really good footballer. He's got great touch. He can come deep for the ball, get it to his feet, spin his man, and then feed it to a speedy player who gets out wide if they actually do that. Whereas Wissa can play on the shoulder and make that run. So somebody like Bruno, Sandro, Miley can find that pass that we saw even Miley do when he was 17 for Alexander Isak. We saw Bruno and Tonali do that for Isak on numerous occasions, and Murphy as well. If Wissa's going to make that run, then he can give us that option. Now, I think Nick Voltemada's done excellent. I'm not going to slag Voltemada off at all. I think he's a really good player. To come into a brand new country at 23 years old, a new league, and play the way he's played and basically live off scraps and score 8 goals in 15 games or something like that. He's been brilliant. But Wissa's proven in the Premier League, and he's a very different threat than what Voltemada is. So it's nice to have those two variations of options in the squad. Again, hopefully Vissa can improve game after game. Christopher says the second half was a hard watch. Absolutely, mate, 100%. Attacker number 2 is saying people can go on about 10 points in 12 all to 1. Performances aren't sustainable. And the way we lose our heads, like Anne Boleyn, when it comes to closing games, that was a huge problem. It's a mentality thing, Attacker. It really, really is. It's a mentality thing. And until the lads get their head around that, then I'm very, very concerned as to where we're going to be at the end of the season in terms of European space. As Sean saying, Villa seem way better. Don't think we'll catch them. I don't think we'll catch them either, Sean. I think Villa look like they could be a top 5 team. I really, really do. I think they're much better than we are at the minute. They're clicking really, really well. Villa struggled when they were in the Champions League as well. In the Premier League, they struggled with the domestic football. Maybe we're just having that same vibe potentially. But yeah, I thought they were excellent today. And I think if we played them next week, we get smashed off them. The way they're playing, intensity, quality, belief. The big players are turning up and they're putting in, 8 and 9 out of 10 performances. Our big players are maybe putting in 7s, 8s maximum. That's where we need to improve there 100%. John is saying we don't play to Voltemada's strengths. We need runners to go beyond him. And that's just not Eddie's way. I totally agree with that. I don't think Villa are going to win the league trophy. It would be brilliant if they did, mind you. I tell you what, that would be a right turn up for the books, wouldn't it? But I can't really see that happen. I really, really can't. Chippers is in the comments saying, is this Eddie's reaction to losing Isak, not being able to close out games? We were fine last season. Yeah, I mean, we had that bit of extra explosive quality up there, didn't we, really, in terms of Isak's ability to do something out of nothing. I mean, that's not the same Isak you see this season, my word. I mean, Arne Slot's even talking about Liverpool needing Jacob Murphy. That's how desperate he is for a result, and Alexander Isak to refine that form that he had at Newcastle. But I think for me, It's a mentality thing. The lads need to figure out how to just stay in games, close out games. But we cannot sit on 1-0 wins. We're not that team. We're not good enough for that. So if we go 1-0 up, we need to go 2-0 up at least. And then we can then sit and say, right, that's it. We can close this game out. We can defend. We can sit deep. We can frustrate that team. But it is just, for me, it's something that has to be sorted out by the players. The manager can tell him as much as he wants, but the players have got to believe it and they've got to do it. And that's got to come from the likes of the captains and the big characters in the team, like Dan Burns and Fabian Schär's and Joe Linton's and Bruno's and those kind of guys. They need to be, and Trippier when he plays, they need to be the one that says, listen, we need to keep our head in the game here. Tonali did it as well when he come on. If you saw, first thing he did was tap into his temple saying, keep your head in the game, lads. Don't fuck around and lose it like we did against Spurs. George is saying, one quality playmaker, Bruno, is not good for us. Miley needs more game times to develop and help him out. I agree with that, George. I think you will get that. I think Howe has kind of finally understood that, he has to rotate in midfield, because when we're playing against teams that sit deep and want us to come onto them and break them down, we can't just rely on Bruno Guimaraes all the time. Tonali sitting too deep in the 6 to do it. We need another player to do it. I still want to see a midfield 3 of Miley, Tonali, and Guimaraes. I think from a footballing perspective, they're the best 3 midfielders that we have in terms of breaking teams down, especially teams that sit in the low block. And that's the 3 I'd like to see in midfield. I think Ramsey's not done himself any favours today. I think he's pushed himself even further down the pecking order after a pretty dismal display today. Sean saying Elanga has been a huge disappointment so far. I've said it 100 times, Sean. I'll say it again. In a window where you could have bought, Kudus, Mbeumo, Semenyo, we signed Anthony Elanga, and I think that was the wrong choice. I think we should have went for either one of those 3. We may have went for Mbeumo, and he might never wanted to come to us. He might have always wanted Man United. Semenyo might have been too expensive. Kudus may have wanted to stay in London, but because the club don't talk to you, you don't know. But I think Kudus would have been a much better signing for us, 100%. Atticus Finn has said, I was seeing Elanga's confidence grow massively as that game progressed. I mean, I think it helped when Willock went off Atticus. I think he had next to him in Miley, he had somebody who would pick up the ball and try and look for his runs, whereas Willock was trying to run almost at him, and then he had to stop his run and come back. So I think that affected his game. I don't think there was a synergy there between those two. So that right-sided midfield and winger does not work. And, with Tino's overlaps, so Tino's running into the space Elanga wants to be in. Willock's running into the space Elanga wants to be in. So Elanga doesn't know where to go, whereas someone like Miley tucks inside, and then Elanga can go. And if he tucks inside, then Tino can go past him, and I think that's a better balance, in all fairness. Deck says Kudus is too lazy, Chris. He's a good player, though, Deck. He's a very good player, mate. If he was at Newcastle, I think he would have had maybe a couple of goals and a good few assists now. I think his throughput would have been much better than Anthony Elanga, in all fairness. But we'll never know. We'll never know, because we never signed him, really, did we? But I think that's pretty much us there, guys. One last comment. Gordon was better today, Chris. I agree with that. I think the goal really kicked his confidence up. I think hitting the bar was a good one as well. Ian says Isak face on the bench, priceless. Yeah, I see he was doing some media shit, wasn't he, about how he he just needs a bit more time and all that. Maybe you should have a pre-season, you lazy bastard, instead of throwing your toys out the pram and forcing a move. And also Martin agrees with me. Bruno, Miley, and Tonali is our best midfield by a mile these days. I don't disagree with that. But yeah, just a quick one tonight, guys. I think that's pretty much what we can say about that. We didn't play very well. The performance was poor. Some of the lads who came in didn't really set the world alight. Jacob Ramsey in particular. Ramsdale is looking a little bit iffy, but look, we've won the game. We're sitting 10th in the table. We're 2 points off 5th. Leverkusen's coming at midweek. I won't be here for Leverkusen. Mark will be on post-match duties because I'm away at my work's Christmas do, to be fair. So I may be in the comments after a few Christmas tipples. So I'm sure I'll have a bit crap with you in the comments. But Mark will be on post-match duties. But I will be back for the match preview for Leverkusen as well, and the aftermath to this game. But if you are watching telly later, I will be back on the telly later. I'm on Sky Sports tonight as well at 6:45. And I'm also jumping on a podcast with my friends at True Faith tomorrow as well. I know some of you guys listen to them and watch them as well. So you will have a bit more of me this weekend, moonlighting on other channels as well as this one. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in tonight. Thank you for all your chats. Remember to like and subscribe and help the channel grow. The 12,000 subscriber draw will be after the derby, so you've still got time bang the comment Caribou in that video, and you could be in it to win it if you've been a subscriber and supported us in amongst that 12,000. But have a cracking evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Newcastle have won. We might have played shit, but we still won, so it's something to be happy about. Have a belter, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.